Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys for coming out. We're really grateful for this opportunity to be able to do our first TREC CE continuing education course. We've done various lunch and learns for various crowds, but this is the very first time since we've earned our accreditation with the Texas Real Estate Commission that we are teaching this course. You will be earning 1 hour of continuing education. 1 hour of continuing education credit towards your license. And so we're very grateful that you guys have come out to be a part of this. Great crowd this morning. Thank you so much. This is Alex Carazales.
How you doing today?
Javier Luna. Got Deshaun Skinner in the back. Got Katie Thomas and Mr. Brian Vidalis, one of our suppliers. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, my name is Tai Wen. It's nice to meet you. So,
Today what we'll be covering is roofing and real estate, risk reduction during transactions. And the agenda we'll be going over is due diligence, client protection, retention, company CAM and health trace technologies, negotiating strategies, client solutions, and cost savings. And also we can interact during this conversation. So if something, clicks with you or you want to ask a question regarding, please feel free to ask. We'll do our best to answer it. So the first part we want to talk about is due diligence. And so the importance of doing your due diligence is definitely has your working with your client, getting ahead of anything that could occur in the future and try to prevent it. So making sure that your client, whether he's the seller or the buyer, what they have on their home, it's in good shape, or it needs to be replaced. So what we do is work with you to make sure we can help you get ahead of the ball. And I'll share an example. So yesterday, I was asked to stop by at a home in the colony because the buyer received an inspection report that the roof had some issues. So I stopped by, and the homeowner met me. The buyer met me there. And I don't know if this is standard practice. Y'all may know that a buyer shows up at a home. This is good for us to know because definitely don't want any lines crossed between buyers and sellers. And so he was there, and the first thing the gentleman said is like, I got the report from the inspector, and I don't want to put myself in a situation where I buy this house and then next thing you know, a week later or a month later, we have leaks. And so I was able to inspect the roof, and sure enough, we found damage. We found damage caused by tree limbs. We found hail damage. All his ventilation was damaged. You had a lot of granule loss on the shingle. So the shingle itself was very vulnerable to future damages caused by storms. And in Texas, as you know, we have really bad heat, really bad humidity, and a lot of hailstorms. In the past 5 years, we've seen a large amount of hailstorms, more than normal in the last 10 years. And so it is good to get ahead of it and make sure that your client is protected. Does that make sense? Yes. Any questions? Okay. Client protection and retention. So working with RCSA, what we do for you. So what we do, we'll come out and we'll conduct a thorough inspection. We'll assess all slopes of the house from the ground and from the roof. We'll make sure that the shingle's in good standing. If permitted, with permission, if we can get in the attic, making sure that the attic is in good condition. There's no rotted wood or anything that is inside the attic that's been caused by storms. So working with you and your homeowner or seller, we can build out a report for you that you can have for your records, and then you can show your customer what condition the roof is at. Mm-hmm.
Also, yeah, just great explanation, Alex. Just to add on to that, a lot of people think that when they think of a roof, it's like, okay, it's face value. It's what you can see. You see just a house with shingles on it or metal or what have you. But actually, a roof is comprised, it's a roofing system. So you're talking about shingle at the very top, standing seam metal, stone coated steel, wood shake. Underneath that, you've got synthetic felt, which is like a stretchy plastic material. In your valleys where the two slopes meet, we put a water membrane barrier that's like a rubber material that has an adhesive that sticks to the valley to prevent something known as water damming when it freezes up. Also, you have flashing, which is pieces of metal that go into the various parts of the house, like the chimney where the roof meets the wall. You have to have flashing. So that's a roofing system. So we're looking at all those things. And to Alex's point, we're also, like he said, going in the attic because that's also a part of the roofing system. Not necessarily the framing, but when you look at the ceiling, you'll see wood, which is the decking, and you'll also see holes in the ceiling, which is where vents. Those are exhaust vents that allow the hot air to escape. Because if you have hot air built up into your attic with not enough ventilation, you can have issues with your roof prematurely failing. So,
Yes, and what we encounter in with roofs installs the majority of the time, contractors when they're building these homes, and we're talking about homes that were built in 2018, 2019, recent homes, even and of course older models, that builders are not properly installing flashing around the chimney, around the siding walls. And so when snow hits in Texas and it sticks to those areas, it eventually melts. And because when flashing is not properly installed, it gets into the crevices and it causes rotted decking, which then leads to mold. And so what we do when we come out and look at all that, we take pictures of all of that. And it's important to have a full assessment of those damages to prevent, like I mentioned, future issues with the buyer or the seller.
have any of you guys had any situation where during your real estate transaction you've had an issue with a roof come up? Can I have see any show of hands where that's been flagged in a report? Anybody here? You're the only one?
So, no, one of the many. But speaking about attic,
Uh-huh.
one, and I learned that with you guys. I didn't know that obviously a roof needed ventilation.
Yeah.
I was under contract with a house that the attic didn't have the vents, and I didn't know it was kind of like required, right?
Yes.
Obviously now in the current standards building codes that you need to have one. I'm like, so what? I mean, it's the attic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but I didn't know that the roof gets damaged by not having proper ventilation. And then I was under contract with another house where obviously roofs are built this way to drain, but there was one that had like obviously the roof like this, and there was an area where it was an addition to the house where the roof was
Flat.
And me as an agent, I'm not a builder. I didn't know that was an issue. And then when the inspection came, they were like, no, because if it snows, the water stays there. There is
Correct.
no proper,
Correct.
So thankfully, I was able to get that roof replaced. I was representing the buyer.
Mhm.
And so when the time came for that area, they had to create a slope for proper draining
Correct.
in the future.
So
These are things that I didn't know.
that's great. And one of the
really
things
good.
that you see, if you ever see a flat roof, one of the things that you constantly see is that they're applying the wrong material. So a lot of builders or contractors that get hired to attach a gazebo or a porch, they'll just utilize the shingles that they have on the roof, which is the incorrect material you put. There's an actual rolled material called modified bitumen that is meant for flat roofs, because those shingles that are on your home, they have gaps, they're spacing, they're overlapping each other. And just like I mentioned before, whether it's snow or rain, when water just sits there, water will eventually fights its way. You know, if you hold water in your hand, it'll eventually start finding its way out of your hand, no matter how tight you hold it. Well, that's what happens. No matter you either, even though you have a shingle over that flat area, that water is going to start penetrating and rotting the decking. So by us having us come out and look at it, we can put in a report: improper material utilized for flat roof requires modified bitumen replacement. And once again, that ensures that preventing any issues for your homeowner. And so these are some of the apps that we use: Company Cam and Health Trace. Company Cam is the app we use to record all our findings. This app enables us to take pictures of the condition of the roof, the decking, the different slopes of the house, but it also enables us to notate. We can notate, put arrows, so make it very simple for you to identify that, and simple for your homeowner to identify it and have that in record. We can also build a report for you.
Yeah, just like Alex said, this software is really handy because it allows us to take pictures before a project starts. That way, if there's anything that was wrong with the property, that's captured. And then after the project is finished, it allows us to document what's been done and that any issues have been corrected, or any pre-existing issues that maybe we weren't involved in. On this Company Cam, we're going to show you a house on here that had some really bad hail damage. And I know that some of you guys have seen hail damage, but we're going to we've got two examples, two clients here, Mr. Brown, and then another one, Gardner. I think we're going to look at Brown's here. Let's see.
One quick thing that I would like to add about Company Cam that's really awesome is that this feature is live. So when we're doing an inspection, when we send you the link, we can be actively on top of that roof. And the second we take a picture, it will upload on your end as well. So you can be in your office handling your own clients, and we will be out in the field on your behalf, going ahead and sending you all of these pictures.
Yeah.
So you can see that this client had some rotted decking that we needed to repair. In the valleys is, water's going to find the least resistance. So this is where you typically see rotted decking or water that has entered the roofing system. So we've had to replace a lot of decking on this home here. And this is, we take photos of all the material when it arrives on site.
Speaking of material, we have one of our suppliers here, Mr. Brian Vidalis. He's a representative from Lowe's Pro Direct, and he supplies us with two brands that we use, Owens Corning and GAF. They're both backed by manufacturer's warranty. GAF, the one that we use for Class 3 applications, has a 3M stain guard. So what does that mean? That means basically that over time, when a roof gets exposed to moisture and pollen and things like that, you'll see streaking and staining on it. With the GAF 3M technology, that essentially prohibits the growth of algae on the roof, so allows the roof to kind of maintain its beautiful finish over time. For Class 4, we use a brand called Owens Corning. You probably have seen that with the Pink Panther. They manufacture insulation and things like that. That one for Class 4, your customers, if we install that roof, they can get a discount on their insurance, on their monthly premium. And on top of that, that roof is tested to withstand, it's been laboratory tested to withstand a 2-inch steel ball dropped at 20 feet. That's the threshold. So it's the stuff that we use is incredible products, and that's why we warranty everything that we do.
Another good question to ask your buyer or seller, if you're dealing with the seller, asking them, when was the last time the roof was replaced? Are there any warranties that come with the roof? Because if they have a Class 4 shingle, depending on who they have who provided the shingle, they can provide a warranty that is transferable one time to the buyer.
Yep.
And that certificate, if by knowing that if it's a Class 3 or a Class 4, the homeowner then can get that certificate and share it with their new homeowner's insurance, and they can get a discount applied to their homeowner's insurance. And it ranges between 20 and 30%. The highest I've seen is actually 50%. on a homeowner's insurance, but it all depends on the carrier. And those are good things to know because you definitely want to save your homeowner the most money possible. Yes, ma'am.
How many years do these roofs last?
Great question.
typically?
So in the state of Texas, you have 30 years and 50 years. I don't know if you've seen or paid attention to the roofs that it looks like they're little bricks. Those are 3 tabs. Those range between 20 and 25 years. 30-year shingles are your architectural shingles, and then your class 4, 50 years. But in the state of Texas, a 30-year shingle, this lifespan is between 10 to 13 years because of just the weather that we have. And then also what helps prevent the lifespan of your shingle for your home is ventilation. Having the proper ventilation, the amount of ventilation in your home to help it breathe, because in an attic, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever been in an attic, but
Yes.
depending on what year the house is built, or and they don't have proper ventilation, the attics can get up to 140, 150 degrees. So what happens? The heat penetrates the shingle, and then there's no flow of air pulling it out. So all that heat stays on the surface level of the floorboards of the house, and so this is just cooking. And as it gets hot and hot, it softens and it starts releasing the granules of the shingle. So you'll start seeing a lot of granule loss because the roof is not breathing. You're not relieving it from that heat. And so that, by having proper ventilation, it expands the lifespan. But to your question, in the state of Texas, a 30-year shingle will last about 10 to 13 years. A 50-year shingle between 13 and 16 years. It just, once again, it goes with the proper ventilation.
Even
Yes.
when sorry to interrupt, when I am under contract, either with seller or buyer, right away when I see 5 years, I'm like, no, we definitely need to check this, even though it's 5 years old. With Texas, with the hail and the winds and the weather, you want to check that.
Yeah.
This is is this Ronnie Ford's house?
I was there to
Okay.
show it what a 3-tab
Yeah.
looks like.
Exactly.
But this is now an industrial shingle. That home, unfortunately, the residents of Anna and Melissa just got hit with a huge hailstorm. So this is currently in Anna with the client that I'm personally working with. So you can see how hail has damaged this home. And even though it may not look significant, I mean, granted, this is definitely a significant storm that hit this area.
Yeah.
You may not see water coming in, but eventually, water is going to find that least resistance. So it
Yes.
creates a crater that then water slowly starts to seep through into this area, which then gets into the felt, which then gets into the decking,
Correct.
which eventually will get into the home.
Correct. So these are asphalt shingles, and with this crater here, as the weather, if a customer were to decide, I'm not going to do anything about it, this crater and the craters created by this hail will eventually, from the rains and the heat, it will eventually dry up and crack. And once it cracks, then you'll start seeing, that's when you'll start water penetrating through it.
So, you were asking about roof age and duration and what's its ability to withstand. Everything that Alex was just discussing and Javier was just discussing, it really is a depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have 100-degree plus weather and you have a shingle baking in the summertime, then the hailstorms hit and then it gets really cold. All these extreme temperatures here in Texas really affects, like if you were somewhere like, I don't know, let's say Malibu, California, you might actually get the full, 25, 30 years out of your shingle because there the weather is almost perfect year round.
Correct.
But here we have one of the most extreme temperature variations in the United States.
Yes.
So
How often should you have and I'm talking personal, not realtor, how often should you have your roof inspected? Like, we go through, I live in Richardson, you go through the occasional hailstorm,
Mm-hmm.
and thankfully I didn't hear that, but the pellets are probably like smaller than a dime. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's not visible damage.
Mm-hmm.
So then you think, okay, maybe I got my roof replaced in 2017 as soon as we bought our house.
Correct.
Since then, I haven't had it inspected, and we've had several hailstorms since then.
Correct.
So that's why the question is coming. How often should you get it?
So you should get it. So from the moment of install, you should get it inspected at least every 2 years, and that could change based on impact of hail. So you changed it 2017, and you get a hailstorm in 2018. Get it inspected. I was just sharing with Javier an example of last year. So in 2023 in Argyle, they had severe hailstorm in March. Well, we re-roofed the home in late December of 2023. Well, 2024 March, they got another 3-inch hailstorm.
Wow.
And so the customer immediately, like Alec, he was so worried and panicked, and like because all his neighbors who had just gotten their roof replaced completely destroyed. But fortunately, because of the shingle, he put a class 4. When I got up there was nothing on there. But the thing is that if you see hail come down, call someone, call RCSA, call Ben, call myself, Javier. We'll come out and inspect it for you, because like you said, you haven't gotten up there. You look at it and looks are deceiving. And that's what happened to me yesterday when I looked at that roof, because we pick up on things based on experience of what tells us this is a new roof, this is an old roof. And you can tell that roof was changed within the 5 years of the house. And from the ground, I was like, this roof looks okay. But the moment I hopped up there, it was a whole different story. Yes. So you definitely want to, if you're not getting up there yourself, you want to have somebody look at it. Just go ahead. Just
How about the area where she said, how about you pull up hail trace, look in the area? and then you
Correct.
tell when the last hail
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. And those are one of those, that's why we use one of those health traces, a tool to help us
This is
pinpoint.
a really awesome tool that we use called Health Trace. Like I said, Melissa was another area that just recently got hit. So this is one of my clients on their street. So basically we can plug in their address, or we can, find it on the map here. But what we look at, you can see that there is a meteorologist confirmed storm date. So September 21st was that storm, and the radar showed 1.75 inch hail, but the meteorologist confirmed 2.5 inches. So they show, and then the amount of wind, and you can scroll back as pretty much as far as you want, and it tells you when the last hailstorm was, when the last windstorm was, and this is how we go about filing claims and letting the homeowner know when that hailstorm hit, and that also helps for insurance purposes when they ask the date of loss.
Correct.
May I add to that? For me personally, the weather
Bless you.
report has been a
Bless
great
you.
tool as an
Bless you.
agent, because I
Bless
was under contract again with another
Salud.
house, and they told me, nope, the roof is in good condition. We got the inspection. The inspector showed that the roof is damaged, and they were like, no, we haven't had a storm. And then I'm like, listen, I have the weather report. You had storm May 2024. You had storm these days, and it goes back to what, 5 years back?
Yeah.
To see if that particular seller replaced the roof 5 years, and within those 5 years they had 3 major storms. So I'm like, you can't argue with data.
Correct.
You had it, and it is damaged, and we want it.
Yeah.
We want it replaced.
Correct.
But to add to your how often you should have your roof inspected. Also, I didn't know that insurance companies only submit the claim or give you your policy within the year of the storm. So if you had a storm 2 years ago, you didn't check your roof, and you check it now, you may not be eligible to do the claim. I didn't know that. And so now they call it, they said, nope, it's owner negligence. You had the storm 2 years ago, and now because you waited so long, it's your fault that the roof leaked, and so now you pay for it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So-
Statute of limitations.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
This is a
exactly.
storm swath. This is what we call a swath, and this outlines the severity of the storm. So of course, as you get to the center, it darkens because that's where it was more heavily impacted on there. And so we can have that report for you, which having pictures from Company Cam, a report from Company Cam, and a report from Health Trace definitely strengthens your case when the seller's telling you, no, nothing's wrong with the roof. and have that on record.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
And it relates to the age of the roof again. I see that you guys work with shingles,
Mhm.
right? But what about metal roofs? Because I've heard that it lasts a lot longer, like 50 years maybe.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with metal roofs or stone coated steel, Da Vinci tile, slate, um, those roofs, like let's just say standing seam, for example. Um, you're going to need a rather large storm with big hail to hit that roof, and then not only just hit it, but you have these metal screws that go in to the metal. Those fasteners have to be hit and damaged, uh, therefore being compromised and allowing water to come in, creating a leak. The insurance company, that type of event has to happen for them to really take notice, because if you just have dings in your metal, but the fasteners that hold it in aren't damaged, um, there's something in insurance policies, and that's a whole nother topic, called metal exclusions or cosmetic exclusions. And they can say, well, in your policy, which is another really important thing. Um, Probably one day in the future, we'll have another one where we bring in a public adjuster and he talks about policies. But if you have an exclusion on your policy, it'll say, cosmetic exclusion. So if you have dings on your metal roof, it's not going to qualify unless the fasteners that hold it in or the structures that hold it in have been damaged, allowing water to come in. Insurance companies, they know that this material is not only is it better, but it's more expensive. So they're going to do everything in their power, like site policy exclusions, and also bring out engineers and people like that to really fight this thing for getting paid out. They won't want to pay out on it. So I hope that.
Yes, yes.
Yes. You may go to the next one. Negotiating strategies. You want to cover this?
Sure. Yeah. So we believe that when you guys are going in, you're serving your customers. Having somebody like us or another contractor, somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that has the knowledge, somebody that has the experience, to be able to be an advocate for you and your client. Somebody that when you're going to the negotiations, if you're the buyer or the seller, you're representing either one of those. There's always concessions and give and take on each side of the transaction. Um, you know, with that, the negotiation for a roof being replaced, if that's what's being requested by the buyer, there's different ways that can happen. Either during the option period, or there could be an agreement to have it replaced after the option period, as long as it's in contract. One of the things about us that we take a lot of pride in is we're Better Business Bureau accredited. We're also Google guaranteed. We're GAF certified, soon to be Owens Corning preferred contractor. So we have these accreditations that allows us to be able to have the knowledge and have the ability to come in and advocate on your clients and your behalf. Next slide.
Can I just touch on one thing? Also, another question you want to ask, if you haven't, because I've ran into this in the past, where the homeowner has filed a claim yet didn't do the repairs. So now you have a claim open. And so if you're not aware of that and you sell the home or your homeowner buys a house, they then, when they put their insurance and a storm passes by and they call to file a claim, the carrier is going to tell them there's an open claim on this home. You can't file a claim on this because the carrier has been paid out to replace it. So you're going to have to work out with the previous homeowner. So these are things that you want to get ahead of and ask, because we've run into situations where we're trying to help them file a claim, and the homeowner had to come out of pocket to replace the roof because the seller didn't ever replace the roof. They kept the
Took a
money.
vacation with the funds.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and it happens.
This is my home in Richardson
Oh,
7 years
no.
ago. The people that we bought it from had just submitted a claim to get the roof
Yes.
replaced or repaired, replaced actually. And so as soon as we signed, sold, we bought the house, they handed over the check. Here you go. What do you want to do with it? You want to hire your own?
Yes.
Do you want us to hire the company to replace
Correct.
do
Correct.
you want to do that as a new
Correct.
owner? We chose the new owner.
New owner.
Yes.
Yeah, and we pick our own roofing
Yes.
company. I didn't know about RCSA. So sorry.
May I add something
Sure.
regarding negotiations? My biggest issue when I'm representing a buyer and I'm asking the seller to replace a roof and they submit a claim, let's say the seller gets 20,000, but he wants to sell the house. So he's gonna go with the cheapest option. If he gets 3 quotes, obviously if someone tells him, yeah, I'll replace it for 10,000, you pocket your other 10,000 and you win. How can I protect my buyer client from a cheap roof? Because I have seen even sometimes they just replace the shingles
Correct.
and they don't replace the decking. And if the decking is rotten and you put new shingles on, then you have a rotten decking. And so for me, working with someone that I trust, you know what? When they open the shingles, I want to make sure that they're putting a new decking because it is required. I want to make sure that my client is not getting cheap
They're protected,
shingles,
yeah.
that they're not getting the cheapest shingles there is. So sometimes in my negotiations, I put on the amendment, I want the roof replaced and I want this company to replace it. Because if I give them the choice to pick their own company, of course, they're gonna go with the cheapest option.
Yes.
Right.
So the sellers are not obligated to go to your preferred roof company, but it's always encouraged to fight for it because then you're looking for your buyer, and then the policy and what if the insurance approves the claim, they can maximize the claim and they can see, not only the shingles are damaged, but
The decking.
the gutters,
Yeah.
Correct.
the fence is also damaged. The window screens are damaged with the hailstorm. This company maximizes the claim and try to put what the most that they can from the damage from the storm for your buyer client.
You're just protecting your buyer.
Yes.
Did you put all that into the contract to replace the decking as well? Or
So
Or even if the
you
gutters
can
are-
you can be as specific
Specific.
as you want
There
in
you
your
go.
amendment. Replace the roof. If the deck is damaged, we want it replaced too. And if you have a company that does the inspection and shows you with pictures, they can take. Sometimes they have sent me reports with 250 photos of each area. And some inspectors don't even get on the roof. Some inspectors, they bring the drone and then, they just take pictures.
Correct.
How are you gonna know?
Well, yeah, and just to interject, you're talking about, having a contractor come in and look, and the situation with your client that you had in Carrollton. It was a husband and wife. They bought a house. The seller went with their contractor, and that contractor did an absolutely horrible job. They said that they were going to replace certain things on the roof. They did not replace those things. They lied. And the customer was very angry, very upset, the buyer, when they moved into the house. Right here you can see that there's 4 layers of felt. And the reason this is happening is because it's really just pure laziness on a contractor's part. When you replace a roof, you have to strip down to this wood decking right here, so you can check to see if there's any issues with mold or rotten wood. So this is one, two, three. There's 3 different contractors that came and replaced the roof on this house, and that just comes to show you that a lot of people don't take pride in what they do, and they're just in it to make a quick buck.
Or they want to sell it cheap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Saving what they can.
Yeah, it's cheaper to not take off all the materials because the crews charge for how many layers of felt, and especially this felt that you see here. This is called the 15-pound felt paper, and that's the builder grade. What you usually see on newer homes, they put this cheap felt paper, which works for new construction. But the paper that we use is a synthetic felt, which if we had a scenario you tried to rip it, it does not rip. This shreds off into, it looks like chips. It kind of comes off. So you can see that every time this roof was replaced, as opposed to taking off this paper, they just put on another layer. And not just another synthetic layer, they put on another 15-pound terrible felt paper. So you can see how that can cause damage. And in this home, we definitely had to do multiple decking repairs because we hadn't seen the decking in who knows how many years.
Where you're going to find a lot of homes that have thin decking are, we see it a lot in Fox and Jacobs homes built in the 1970s, 1980s. So 3/8 decking is very thin. And depending in the city that it's in, some cities enforce building code, some do not. And also there's a kind of a caveat to your homeowner being protected, or the seller being protected from their carrier, is if they installed clips that separate the boards. So they consider that by code. So another thing to check, that's why it's important to work with a company like RCSA to come out, because the moment you get on a roof like that, you can immediately feel the wood bend and crack. You tend to see that with a lot of homes built that way. Also, when you're helping your homeowner, I don't know how deep y'all get into like with homeowners insurance, or if you recommend, you want to make sure that they have code ordinance law coverage. So code ordinance law coverage tends to be on all policies. With the as the only one that I know that doesn't automatically include it is Allstate. It's an add-on. You have to pay additional for it. And so if they don't have code or not ordinance law coverage, then the carrier will say, well, you're going to have to come out of pocket and replace the decking yourself. And so it's important to work with us and like put it in the stipulations of your policy. Like I want them to work with RCSA to do the roof, because we have the people in place that can go to bat for you and speak policy. We recommend working with a public adjuster, and he's licensed by the state to speak policy. In the state of Texas, is against the law for a contractor, roofer, builder to speak policy to insurances. So the moment we start talking policy, we lose. And that's why recommending to work with a public adjuster, it makes the transition even easier, because then they can go back and forth on it. And all we have to take care of is making sure that the roof is properly installed for your seller or your buyer. Any questions?
So the next topic we want to get into is, our customer reliability and the experience client solutions. That's what it falls down to. A lot of clients will have a concern or an issue, and we want you guys to know that we're here to provide solutions for y'all. You and your homeowners are your clients. Having damage to a property can affect many things. It can affect the home value, the homeowner's insurance, as we've talked about, securing financing, especially like an FHA or a VA, very strict. If you have a home that's not up to par and the roof has got a lot of issues, it can affect that. So what we bring to the table is we bring a solution to that problem. We recommend the inspections, as we talked about. We recommend having us involved or trusted contractor involved to be able to help you with the process. We can help streamline it. We can help ensure that your clients are well taken care of, and anything that could go wrong relating to the roof, we're there to serve and help. Next topic is cost savings, cost reduction. Basically, when we address issues, we minimize downtime. Whether it's a repair, whether it's the replacement, we believe that being proactive, if you're proactive and you take the initiative to go ahead and address the issues versus wait for them to come up into a home inspection, you're ahead of the game. There's also long-term value. There was a study that was done according to the remodeling 2020 cost value report. Homeowners can recoup, 60 to 70% of replacement costs if in the increased home value. So, your value on a home, if you've got a new roof, just like, for example, I sold my house back in 2023. 5 months before I sold my house, I put a new roof on. And I had some other stuff done too, but one of the first things that that buyers look for, and I'm sure you guys can agree, is what's the foundation look like? Has there been any shifting? What's the roof look like? Because the bottom and the top, that's the most important part of the house. So having, somebody that come in that can remedy the problem, you can ensure that the value of the home and the integrity of it is maintained. There's also let's see here. There's DIY pitfalls. You may have homeowners that are people that want to bring in a chuck in the truck or the most cheapest person possible, or try to do it themselves, and that can be an issue. I had a guy in Anna that I was working with. In fact, I was working with him 1 month before that storm hit, and he was having leaks in his house. And the reason he was having leaks in his house was because he had climbed on the roof and tried replacing the shingle. And what he did was he messed up his roofing system, and so he had water dripping into his attic on like 2 or 3 different areas. And unfortunately, at that time, the only thing I could do for him was just provide a short-term repair that I can't warranty because the whole roofing system's been damaged. This roof was probably 15 years old. It was severely damaged, and I told him, I said, "Look, we're going to provide these repairs for you, but with that being said, we're going to have to wait until the next storm for you to be able to take advantage of your insurance claim." Sure enough, 1 month later, the storms in Anna, Melissa hit, and I was able to call him up and say, "Hey, are you ready to go ahead and get the new roof?" He said, "Yes, sir." I believe Javier has something here.
So
Wanna
I
show
don't know
us?
if you can see here. So this is Mr. Martinez's home. I inspected this house 2 days ago. And so Mr. Martinez, he has wind damage. But Mr. Martinez decided to get on his roof and to do a DIY repair. So if you can see, he put some adhesive to protect the shingle. And the thing is that depending on the adhesive you put on your roof, it can have a different reaction to the heat, and that can lead to a fire. And so also, once again, you file a claim and the carrier gets up there and there's like, well, what is this? This is not properly repaired. This is negligent. So then now you find yourself in another situation. So avoiding DIY, letting your customer, like, look, we have some experts that can definitely do this for us. They'll look after you. They'll make sure that it's done properly. Fortunately, like I mentioned, we have someone that we recommend that can speak policy, that can get into the weeds with the insurance. So we feel comfortable there. But if Mr. Martinez wasn't represented by RCSA and he were to go about it in his own, he can find himself in a serious situation with his insurance carrier.
And if you're interested in more DIY pictures, we have plenty.
Yes.
We have plenty.
So then the insurance then can say, oh, it's
Voids the
your
warranty,
fault
doesn't
Yes.
because you ruined it.
Yes.
So now we won't cover it.
Correct. Yes. They're in the business to pay less. They're not in the business to pay more. So.
I have personal experience. My husband, our roof was replaced in 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
Now our house was built in the 70s, so there's not the vents in like the restrooms.
Yes.
So my husband's like, why don't we just hire the guy down the street that's having the neighbors, the roofs replaced? Why don't we have one of those guys come in and put a hole in? I'm like, nah, don't even touch our roof. You know what I mean? It's like you want to leave it to somebody that is a pro
Correct.
that will come in and put the venting system in. Please
Correct.
don't hire just
Anybody.
to do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
To me, I was like, no, like you're gonna void the warranty.
Yeah.
On it. Whatever warranty we have on it, like you're gonna void it. So don't even touch it. Don't let the guy
Yeah.
that's the not
Correct.
professional or the, what do you call
We call 'em
Chuck in the
Chuck
truck.
in the truck, yeah.
them?
Yeah. Yeah, fly by night
Yeah.
roofers or
Yeah.
companies. Any questions that y'all may have?
Can I make a comment? I'm not the one.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a client with an old house and the roof was bad and he knew that it was bad. And I said, just check and, submit a claim and see if you can get it replaced because he turned it into a rental. And he's like, no, I don't want to submit a claim because my insurance already went up. If I submit a claim, it's gonna go higher. With roof and insurance, does your insurance payment or policy goes up if you replace it?
That's a fantastic question. That's a question that we get almost every week, and the answer to that is no. It's not the same as auto insurance.
Yes.
It's different. A lot of people, assume auto and home is the same. They both provide coverage, but there's different stipulations on those. With the home, if you're in an area and your neighborhood gets hit with, hurricane or hailstorm, and you've got everybody in your neighborhood filing claims, or everybody within a 3-mile radius filing claims from a storm that's hit, your insurance premiums are going to go up regardless of whether or not you file a claim, because everybody else in your neighborhood filing a claim, and it's almost a guarantee that one of those people have your insurance company. So if you file a claim, your premium will not go up because it's already going to go up due to the storm that hits your area and everybody else filing claims.
Right.
That's what stipulates increases in premiums, is when a lot of people start filing, everybody else's will increase as a result of that, especially when a storm hits.
Correct. And your carriers keep in record of it all the times a storm has hit. So let's say you wait 10 years from now and your roof has gone through a severe degradation. That's when your company, and it's even if you've transferred from carrier, they all use the same system. They all can find the records. They know how many claims you filed, when you were with State Farm, Allstate, or whomever. They have records of all of that. But if they see that in 10 years you've had 3 or 4 severe hailstorms in your area, and even though you faithfully paid your premium, they can say you've been negligent and deny you your claim. Here's another thing that's been going on. Any roof that's 10 years or older, and this is across the board with every carrier, they are now automatically switching your policy from a real cost value to an actual cost value. So the difference is the actual cost, the real cost value is where you just pay your deductible and the insurance pays for the majority. For 99% of the roof, all you're coming out is your deductible. The ACV policy is where they literally pay between 30 and 40% of the claim, and you are responsible for the 70 or 60% of the claim. And that's policies for homes that are 10 years or older. So if you receiving emails, and they'll send you an email, and whether you respond or not, you not responding to them is a yes. And so they'll automatically do it. So it's being mindful of that and informing your clients. We see this a lot in the Hispanic community, where you're talking to the homeowner, you see their roof. It's like, no, because they're gonna raise my. In fact, that's the conversation I had with Mr. Martinez. He's like, isn't it gonna increase my claims? Like, look, sir, your policy has gone up year over year. Have you noticed that? He's like, yeah, and it went up recently. They just put him on a 2%. This past year,
yeah.
deductible. And I was like, have you filed a claim? He's like, no, we haven't filed a claim. You see, the reason why they increase is because all your neighbors in Red Oak, in the community, in your zip codes have been filing claims. I'm sure you've noticed roofs being replaced in your area. He's like, yeah, all the time I see a roof. You see, it's based off zip code. And so you can continue to not file a claim and be faithfully paying your premium year over year or every 6 months, and they can faithfully continue to raise your claim, your deductible. It's better for them. They don't have to come out of pocket. You're saving them so much money. And so just sitting down and explaining to them, walking them through it, we're able to help them and start a process with them to get their roof replaced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Next slide. So key takeaways. It's really our privilege and our honor to be able to partner with any of you all or anybody that may need help during a transaction. Um, it's not about, okay, we can replace a roof or do repair. It's, we can help you with the process. Even if we don't replace the roof or do repair, we still want to be there to help. If there's an issue where you come up and it's flagged, we want to be there to be able to provide solutions for you guys, cost effective. We want to make sure the value of the property is maintained, and we want to be able to also make sure that you have somebody that you can trust, somebody that's insured, somebody that's certified, somebody that can help you streamline your transaction and not hold it back because of issues. We want to be there. Next slide. Again, just the cost savings, positive reputation, long-term relationships. These are just recaps of what we've already talked about. These are the different parts of the roof right here that you can see. The roof deck, counter flashing that goes around the chimney, synthetic underlayment. What I was talking about earlier was the roofing system. And these are all things that are comprised of the roofing system. I think with exception to fascia and soffit, but soffit themselves actually play a role because there's usually vents in here, intake vents that allow air to come in. And when that air comes in, it circulates air in the attic, which then comes out.
And this is also how happy your homeowners will be when you help them. That's what these are your homeowners. That's how happy.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a listing coming up.
Okay.
And the roof was, for sure damaged because it was in, Melissa.
Okay.
And it was a big home,
Okay.
but the homeowner had solar panels installed. And, they wanted to sell, they want to downsize,
Sure.
and they need the roof to be replaced.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to go see them, tomorrow. So their question was, of course, they're gonna call the insurance company, but they still owe their solar. So they need to know if the insurance company is gonna replace the roof. They have 2% deductible,
Okay.
which is very heavy.
Sure.
The question was, when you replace the roof as a roofing company, how is that going to affect the solar panels? Are they going to have those removed? Or how do you do when it's that situation?
Well, that's actually a really excellent question. What was your name again? Vaughn. Thanks so much, Vaughn, for asking that question. In that situation, we've had several homeowners that have had solar. This is one homeowner that we had where we got involved and, we assessed for damage on the roof. We also acknowledged that there were solar panels on the roof. So what we do is we work with a company that specializes in something called solar detach. And so what solar detach is we have a partner that comes out and he detaches the solar panels from the roof. Okay. When that happens, we come in the next day, we replace the roof completely. And then the following day or whatever day afterwards that we're done replacing the roof, the detach company comes back in and reattaches the solar, making sure everything's hooked up as if it had never moved before. We've done that many times over with many different clients, and it's for us, it's not an issue because we have somebody that specializes in detach. And not only does he detach, he also cleans them, shines them out, and then puts them back on.
So when you detach the solar panels,
Yes, ma'am.
Are they gonna put something to cover, or the homeowners have to relocate, or how is that? What if it's raining really hard that night without the solar panels?
Yeah. So normally when the solar panels, I'll make sure I'm understanding your question correctly, Vaughn. You're asking when we remove the solar
Yeah.
panels, are there going to be holes left on the roof? Is that
Right.
yeah? So in that situation, when the solar panels are coming off the roof, they're applying a special industrial strength waterproof barrier, a sealant that goes over those holes. It's not a long-term solution. It's a short-term solution during the process of when the roof's going to be replaced to cover that to make sure water doesn't get in. And then if there's rain that night, it's not going to penetrate. Now, if you leave it for months after months after months, yeah, because it's more of a band-aid to cover it in the interim between them when the new roofing system comes in.
And is there a cost for that solar detached to come and take the solar panels off and put the stuff to cover it temporarily before the roof is replaced?
Yes, ma'am, there is a cost. However, the insurance company, when they insured that house, or if they had the solar panels installed after the house was already insured, they had to inform their insurance company that they were putting solar panels. Therefore, the insurance company in their policy should cover the detaching of the solar panels to be removed and then reattached. And that's something that we also bill the insurance company for that.
And that kind of goes through our supplement process. So it's called cost incurred. So if they do not cover it on the original claim, what we do is we work with our public adjuster that is working on your behalf as the homeowner or representing the buyer to show them, hey, this is the invoice that it costs to take off these solar panels in order for us to do our job properly. So what we do is we save all those invoices, we send it to our public adjuster. He then sends it to the insurance company and says, hey, this is what it actually costs to do. So even though you've only paid out $20,000, we're going to make sure we get this, similar to exactly how we had with this Mr. Scarberry here. We improved his settlement from what was like 30,000 to now like 50,000. So we got an extra good amount of funds added to the claim because we had costs incurred to remove those solar panels.
Correct.
So this is everything that we do, and by handling this process on your behalf, as opposed to you sitting on hold with the insurance company saying, hey, I have to handle these solar panels, or oh, my homeowner's saying this, we take that weight off of your shoulders and make sure that we handle that process and copy you on every communication that we have so that you're not left out of the loop, but you know that you have the proper representation.
And is there a difference between if the solar panels are paid off or not paid off?
Okay, great question. So typically, recently, insurance carriers will ask, do you own the panels or do you lease them? So if they're leased, they're going to ask your homeowner to call the installer who put them on there to come and do the detach and reset. If they're purchasing to own, then they can decide who they want to do it. But unfortunately, in solar companies last within 3 to 5 years. So a lot of these solar companies are not in business. So especially,
I really don't care.
correct,
Solar panels.
correct. But just to answer your question,
It's big headaches.
that's why when we take over the PA that we recommend, he'll be able to address all that with the carrier on there. So that's the question that they've started to ask, because a lot of homeowners in Texas are starting to put solar on their homes, and the detach and reset is not
Because,
a
you don't save enough,
Right.
regarding and versus the cost of the whole solar panel system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they get, sweet talked
Yeah.
by all these solar salespeople, thinking, they reduce their
Their bill.
bills
Yeah.
energy bill.
$400 to $70 or something.
Yeah.
But they owe the whole system for
Correct.
20 years,
Correct.
and they may
That's
not
right.
stay in the house for 20 years, so
Correct.
it's ridiculous.
Yes, ma'am.
And another good point too, Vaughn, is that like when I first got into this industry, that was actually one of the questions that I had is how are we going to get these solar panels off? And one thing that the PA told me was that he said, the public adjuster was, he said, the insurance company, if you live in a house and it has solar panels, there is absolutely no way that you can replace the roof without taking the solar panels off. So it has to be covered. It has to be taken care of. So,
Last question.
yes,
I
ma'am.
promise. How much are your roof inspections?
So one thing that we really pride ourselves is a no obligation inspection, right? So if you have a property that you're concerned about, we're going to make sure that we go out on your behalf and get you that report as soon as possible. We don't charge for those reports. It's our pleasure to go out and serve you in that aspect. The only way that we're actually getting funded in order to pay, our bills and our costs incurred for our business is when we actually get the roof paid for. So when we get the roof paid for, that's when we get the funds from insurance. And then Ben, do you want to kind of explain?
Yeah, I mean, just like Javier is saying, if we're doing work, obviously, whether it's a replacement or repair, that's how we operate as a business, But like I said, sometimes that may happen, that may not happen. But nonetheless, we're here to help and serve you to the best of our ability. And we can almost guarantee you that if the house has sufficient damage and the policy is a reasonable policy that covers that damage, we can get it approved.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you guys for taking the time to come out. I also want to give a special thanks to Mr. Ng for allowing us to come here. Appreciate his he's always just a really generous and kind person. And so we thank him for allowing us to come here and set this up. Just want to give him a round of applause. And thank you guys for your time out of your day. We've brought some luncheon from Dickey's Barbecue, so we're going to have a delicious lunch for you guys to eat it and partake in. And yeah, thank you all so much.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
No.
So the CE class go directly to our track, or do we have to pay for that?
No, I'm not going to charge you for that. That's, you guys will get the credit.
We'll see it in track.
Yeah, we'll see in track. So I'm going to work with our admin team on getting that registered to the Trek portal. And yeah.
Only quick question.
Absolutely.
So about when they have to pay